Hi everybody, meteorologist Joe Chaffee on this Friday night, February the 15th, 2019. Second half of the month of February has begun, and before too long, with a 28-day month, guess what? March will be here, and then we'll be ticking down to the end of winter and the beginning of spring. We've got a couple of weather systems ahead, a weak one and then a stronger one, although I think if those of you who have already peeked at weather models, perhaps a bit overdone. So we'll take a look at that. I think it's going to wind up rhyming with the one we just had back at Tuesday. In other words, the lows are going to come out in about the same fashion, I think, and we're going to see models showing robust solutions and folks snow lovers getting all excited and jumping up and down that maybe the area that has been experiencing a snow drought, maybe that drought is going to be broken. Well, we'll see. We've been down this road many times before with weather models this winter. And by the way, let's also remember that our world that we live in, our own personal world that we live in, does not necessarily reflect the weather that is going on everywhere else. You may be experiencing a subpar winter, but there are a lot of people in the United States that are experiencing exactly the opposite. Just talk to anybody that's in the upper Midwest or up into the plains, the northern Rockies, and also on the West Coast, and particularly in the Northwest, in and around Seattle. So they've had a winter, February to remember as far as snow is concerned. So it's not just all about the I-95 corridor. Let's make that very clear. Welcome to all my app users, and those of you who haven't downloaded it yet. I need 6 more app subscribers to get to 2,000. So it'd be nice if somewhere along the way today that happens, and you can download my free weather app, which is actually useful for all areas, particularly in the east, but you can use it to find your local weather conditions wherever you are in your local forecast. You can just go to Google Play and you can download, search meteorologist Joe Chaffee on Google Play or in the App Store. So get me those 6 more subscribers, please. And for those of you who are interested in a more complete weather experience, and it's a great way to support my free app, which is advertiser free, by the way, is you can subscribe to my Patreon platform. It's just $2 a month, so that would be not a half bad investment for a platform where you get even more weather coverage on top of everything else. And as I said, it helps to support the app and my live streams and everything else. I put the link up there on the chat tonight for those of you who are interested. Thank you very much for considering it. Quick hellos to those of you from my Facebook page, Meteorologist Joe Chaffee, from Angry Ben's Angry Weather's Facebook page, and also from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut Stormwatch page. For those that are coming on from the SS Storm Chase page, if the video is too long for you, there's a link there on Facebook that you can read about all of this, and you can go to the SS Storm Chase chases.org website and take a look at it over there. Okay, so let's take a look now at what's going on tonight as far as advisories are concerned. We've got winter weather advisories that are up over a large portion of the state of Missouri, including St. Louis, southern Illinois, western and northwestern Kentucky, even a small portion of northwestern Tennessee and northern Arkansas under a winter weather advisory. The southern edge of this is actually producing some sleet and freezing rain. Eastern Kansas, northeastern Oklahoma, southeastern Nebraska under an advisory. I didn't, and that first area, by the way, you see that there's like that sliver there in northern Missouri. That is because that second round of advisories that you see in northern Iowa, southern Minnesota, and then back north and west into South Dakota, northern Nebraska, that is from a second system that's going to be coming behind the first one that is moving through the middle Mississippi and lower Ohio Valley at the moment. The second one is going to come through for Saturday and for Saturday night into early Sunday. And we have winter storm watches up for parts of South Dakota, southeastern Montana, southwestern North Dakota. Advisories kind of arc back up through much of northern Montana. some winter storm warnings down the Rockies on the border of Idaho and Wyoming. Some avalanche watches up for parts of Utah and also for parts of Idaho and western Colorado. And we still have winter storm warnings going on in California as the moisture continues to stream into the west. You know, that western trough is so deep and so intense that it is really astounding to watch this. It's also shooting energy eastward that is going to be coming in pieces, and we're going to be dealing with this through much of this week. And by the way, we also still have winter weather advisories up for northern Maine as a weather system is moving through the northeast at the moment. I want to take a look at WPC, the Weather Prediction Center, because they usually do a pretty good job when they outline their rainfall areas for the week. These are their forecasts remarkably do fairly well, and they kind of give us at least a clue as to where their heads are at with respect to the weather going forward. And this is going to take us, by the way, through next Friday night. And if you'll notice, as far as areas that I look at, eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, the rainfall amounts, the total liquid rainfall amounts here are on the order of a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch to just under an inch. The inch line, you have to go down to Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. So that kind of tells you, at least with the weather system coming on Sunday and another one coming for later Wednesday night into Thursday, you know, they're not exactly generating huge amounts of precip. So when you juxtapose this against what some of the models are showing as far as their snow maps are concerned, which, as I've said many times, are actually pretty useless, and you, at the very least, you have to use them with great caution, if you should even use them at all. But WPC's mind, in my view, I didn't get a chance to read their discussion, but I'm thinking that they're probably not as robust as what some of the models are suggesting for the middle part of next week. In the West, we are seeing still some moisture up and down the coast over the next 7 days in the inland, in some areas from Southern California on through northeastern California, and then on up through the coast of Oregon into southern Washington. We're looking at some 1 to 2 inch rain amounts spread out over the next 7 days. So this suggests that there is going to be a bit of a break in the unrelenting rain, and that there could be at least a couple of days of a break through as we move into next week. So I'm going to jump to let's go to the snow forecasts for this coming weekend. We've got a weak weather that system that is moving now through the middle Mississippi Valley. That's going to weaken as it moves eastward. So we're going to have to kind of pick out some of these different snow areas here. We're going to start with the Northeast. These are National Weather Service forecasts because I can't do a forecast for every single spot in the United States. So I'm going to leave it to them and rely on their expertise for their local areas, which should be far greater than mine is. They know their local climatology, and you know your local climatology better than I do. But from that lead system, which is producing some 1 to 3, 2 to 4 inch snows, even some 5 inch pockets in parts of Missouri, weakens quite a bit as it moves eastward, because as you move into Kentucky and into southern West Virginia and in through Virginia, you're kind of stretching this out and thinning out the snow area to almost nothing. There's also a little bit here that's being indicated for parts of western Maryland and northwestern Virginia. I would think that would be on the order of a coating to an inch or so. So that this first area that I've outlined is really more for the system that's going through there now, and this is going to move offshore tomorrow during the morning hours and head out and have no impact on the weather in the Northeast. Now the snows from the second system, and this is for Sunday night and Monday, the central New Jersey northward, 1 to 2 inch snowfalls, including Long Island with a little bit of luck. This is going to be one of those situations where the snow falls at night, So that's going to help accumulations, even on some of the road surfaces, for example, and it's on a Sunday night where traffic is usually on the quiet side. Also, this will be a situation where a degree or two, this is not overly cold air we're talking about, so we're going to have to rely on temperatures that are going to be probably at around 32, 33, or if we get a little precip falling down, they may cool down to those levels. So the upper air is cold enough, certainly, so we might see a little bit of top-down cooling here. And you can see the snowfalls being forecast through upstate New York, with the system for Sunday night, Monday, also on the order of 1 to 2 inches. Going to go to the west, where we still have some pretty big amounts there being indicated for the Sierra Nevadas there in California. It's so important to see what the outcome is in the west with regards to this deep trough, because of the fact that all of this energy that's in the west just continues to flow along eastward. And at least when the systems are in the west, they seem to be spending themselves out to some degree, and as they move over to the other side of the Rockies and move eastward, and they're moving into a ridge position, an upper high position in the eastern part of the United States, they are coming out weaker. But the one for Sunday night is stronger than the one that's moving through now and for Saturday, and the one for later Wednesday night into Thursday for the east is going to be stronger than the one that comes through on Sunday night. So I want to bring up, I forgot to bring it up ahead of time, let me just pull it up right now, the my forecast for Sunday, and it's on my website, meteorologistjoechaffee.com. And also gets into a bit of Wednesday's situation here, but here's here's what I came up with for Sunday. It's a light event. If I can scroll down to the map, there we go. And I'm thinking that we're going to see when it opens. Thank you so much. Slow internet here. But the blue line represents basically where you start to see the increased risk for coating to 1 inch or so. I think the map is pretty clear. Some folks, I don't know why, I don't know how much clearer I can make it, but apparently it's a problem for some trying to understand this, because they're used to seeing people putting up maps with legends, perhaps. I don't work that way. So the black line, in case you're uncertain of that, the black line is basically the southern edge of just rain. You go inside the black line and to the blue line, and we're looking at mixed precip, or perhaps even here just rain, depending on what temperatures are. North of the blue line, so basically in New Jersey, you start going north of Route 195 and Route 76 in Pennsylvania. This is where you start to see a coating to 1 inch or so, and that includes New York City, Long Island, southern Connecticut, and then go to the purple line and go north of there in northern New Jersey, and I'm going for 1 inch or 2. I thought this was pretty fair given the marginal temperatures, and I might adjust. There might be room here for a little bit of upside if the temperatures are a little bit cooler and the precip may be a shade more robust, which is not out of the question. But we're kind of looking at something that's only going to be producing a couple of tenths here. So I don't know how much upside we can get as far as the moisture is concerned. But that is my forecast for my particular area. Now, on the radar tonight, as we take a look, this is the 718 view. In case you're watching this later, there's no severe weather threat in the U.S. We've got a cold front coming through the northeast at the moment, so there were some showers around, very light showers in my area. We have some snow up in parts of western Maine and back through parts of Vermont and upstate New York. The second area in through Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, northwestern Kentucky, that's mostly snow with rain as you get down into Tennessee and northern Alabama, northern Georgia, northern Mississippi. And there's a small area there along the Arkansas-Missouri border. It's ended now, but that was actually some sleet and freezing rain that was going on there not too long ago. Let me, I'm going to refreshen this up just to get the latest loop. And you can see this here. It's actually not a half bad looking radar presentation tonight, but we're starting to see the leading edge kind of get stretched out a little bit. So I'm thinking you're going to see this weaken even more as it moves eastward during the overnight hours. And out in the west, of course, where the rain has been in Southern California has been really out of control, San Diego, Palm Springs, and so on. You're actually catching a little bit of a break for the moment, and also back through parts of Arizona. But we're seeing rain and showers up the coast. The areas near the Sierra Nevadas, of course, that's all snow up through eastern California, and some heavy precip coming into northwestern California. We've got winter storm warnings up here, and the elevation levels are down under 2,500, in some places even under 1,000 feet as far as accumulations are concerned. That's pretty low for the elevated areas as you go into the northwestern part of the state. And precip is also continuing up through coastal Oregon, although there's not a whole lot, just some scattered stuff going on at the moment in the state of Washington. So let's look at, I got a couple of different things that I pulled up tonight that I want to take a look at. First of all, let's backtrack here with respect to the first system. And right now, at 7 o'clock, which we've just passed, this is the GFS model. And I think we could probably use the NAM here, because it'll give us an idea of what the radar is going to look like rather than the total precip. So the NAM's probably underdoing it as far as the radar is concerned, because we do see precip in eastern Kentucky at the moment. But the trend for all this precip is to gradually weaken during the overnight and into Saturday, and there's not a whole lot that's left when it crosses in through Virginia. Perhaps this is a bit underdone as far as the precip's concerned. There should be a bit of snow on the northwestern fringe of this, and then that moves out. And now you have the firing up of the second weather system with snow up through Missouri and in through western Illinois and Iowa, eastern Nebraska, and that is going to be the low for Sunday night into Monday morning. And that low a little further, it's further north than this one, but again, also here, it's not the most dynamic system in the world. We do seem to have a blossoming of precip to some degree Sunday evening, with sleet and even some freezing rain in southern and southeastern and south central Pennsylvania, and snow. I would say, again, 76 to me seems to be where it lines up. 195 and 76 would be the rain snow line. And the NAM does actually produce a couple of inches of snow out of this on this particular run that moves across northern New Jersey, Long Island, southern New England, and through New York State and northeastern PA. That first batch kind of goes out and as the low redevelops. You've got the primary low moving into western Pennsylvania, and then just sort of pops and center jumps to off the New Jersey coast, and then it moves out, and the upper system drops southeastward, so that produces snow in New York State down to the coast during Monday morning, and it kind of lingers there. We'll have to see how real that is. I don't know if that will produce very much coming in the daytime, and again, the lack of any real cold air probably would limit any additional accumulation, since that precip, again, to me looks to be on the light side. By the time we get to Monday night, of course, by later Monday afternoon, Monday night, it's all gone. We're going to take a look also at the west for the same time frame, because we do have all of that precip going on, and low pressure is sitting off the coast of Oregon here, one after another with these lows that have been dropping down from off the coast of Canada and from the Gulf of Alaska eastward. And once we get into Sunday night, Monday, this is where we start to get a bit of a relaxation here. The trough, it doesn't disappear, but at least in terms of the energy, much of it is already at this point shifting eastward. And if you look here by Tuesday, you've got snows in through New Mexico. This is some of that energy coming east that's going to make the second system, which we're looking at for later next week. So on to the GFS. And I'm going to pull up the upper air. And while that is going on, I'm going to back this to today. And now I'm going to switch to another view. I want you to take a look at this. And I got this. This is from NOAA's website. So if you go to mag.nsep.noaa.gov, or you can just go to weather.gov, and if you scroll below the map, you'll see the menu there. There's a link there for upper air, and that'll take you to the models page. There's some really good stuff here, and what I've pulled up is the jet stream out in the Pacific. You know, we've been talking about this weather pattern and just how the Pacific jet stream has been such a problem because of its unrelenting nature. And we're looking here now, I'm way up in the upper atmosphere here, so we're looking at 25,000 feet. And when you look at these colors, the purple and the reddish colors you see on the scale, I think you can see the scale on the side there, the wind speeds up to 150 knots or more. So we're up, you know, basically where planes are flying. And if you watch this loop that starts from today, and through the period, through the weekend and into next week, you'll notice that that jet in the Pacific, we're now to the 19th. It hasn't really changed very much. Once you get past the 20th and 21st, it finally starts to show chess pieces moving around, but you still have this trough in the western part of the United States. But it's really amazing how this Pacific jet, once it locked in, how it just stays locked. Boy, I'm having trouble with this. It's let me start that again. It's amazing how when you see once the Pacific jet locked in, it stays locked in for well over a week, and it's in the last 3 or 4 days of this loop that you finally see it start to break down to some degree, but it doesn't completely break down, but it does show you the nature of what the upper air pattern has been like, and the fact that we are seeing this unrelenting Pacific flow creating the upper air pattern across the U.S., which has not been favorable to snow for the coastal cities from Portland, Maine, down to about be somewhere between, say, Philadelphia and Baltimore. So we're going to go through the weekend, and also in the east, you'll see how flat the flow is. The lines are going from west to east. There's no real indentation in there. So the shortwave trough that's moving through is just not that impressive. Meanwhile, out in the west, you've got this deep trough, and there's your last energy that drops down through California and Nevada before we talked about the relaxation. And notice, by the way, toward Monday night, you start to get a little bit of a ridge, an upper high that builds into the northwest. So that kind of calms things down a bit. Although there's another little disturbance west of San Francisco by the time we get to Tuesday. Meanwhile, the energy is getting kicked out to the east. But look what's along the east coast. You've got a big upper high that's building. It doesn't really build all that strongly. It's actually on the flattish side, but the fact that there's a ridge there kind of tells you that the system coming eastward is going to have a bit of a difficult time doing anything in terms of strengthening. And in the latter part of next week, we get to Thursday and Friday, look back in the west, here comes some more trouble, okay? As another one, there's that first one on Tuesday into Wednesday, and then an even stronger system comes down for later Wednesday and Thursday. So the trough in the west basically gets reestablished, while you're getting some of this energy that comes out, and you can see it reflected, by the way, that little blue bulge that's in the western lakes. That's going to be part of the reflection of the weather system that's impacting the east. The upper air with this is not that impressive. So I would be really cautious in terms of what some of these models are producing. And I'm going to advise that you're going to see a lot. I'm sure the the weather chatter is the robust nature of what some of the models produced out of the system for Wednesday. I'm really very cautious here for all the reasons that I've stated over the last number of days, including the fact that the trend is your friend and history doesn't repeat, but it likes to rhyme. Don't be shocked if you wind up seeing a similar system come Tuesday, come Wednesday into Thursday in the eastern states. It's like the one we just had this past Tuesday. Now, here's the late afternoon GFS model run, and it has a low, doesn't show much of a primary here, keeps the features at the surface rather weak. You've got this cold high to the north in Quebec that's wedging down. I will tell you that it's been the case in the last month. We've had a number of these highs that have moved into eastern Canada where the model has tried to bring down a significant amount of low-level cold air, at least initially. And then as we get closer and closer, the cold air gets less and less and less. So again, another reason to have some doubt. And here's the snow to ice to rain. The volume is what I question. I just think it's overdone. It does show what looks like an impressive overrunning situation here, but again, the fact that we have this upper high in the east and all the troughing in the west leads me to believe that we're going to see the models come back a bit in the next bunch of runs. Let me just also state, I have an open mind with this sort of stuff. Remember, I'm just telling you what it looks to be at the moment, and given the weather pattern and given what the actual weather is right now, the flavor of the upper air, that's not to say that perhaps some things can change. I'm not, we're at Friday. We're talking about something more than 5 days away, so I think it's completely appropriate for forecasters to hedge. I'm just being completely skeptical of those that are going out off the deep end. The snowfall forecast maps, for example, if you look at them, I mean, they do produce some rather hefty amounts of 6 to 10 or 6. I would really. This is not a forecast tool to use. And if you haven't seen it, by the way, if you go on my YouTube channel in the instructional videos section, I did a whole thing about these snowfall forecast maps and why you have to be very careful in using them. So these numbers, for example, that are being generated at straight 10 to 1, they're not taking into account the change over to sleet and freezing rain. We saw that the other day, by the way, with the Tuesday system. Right before the event, some of the models were on these snow maps were showing double-digit snowfall numbers, and not just small double-digit snowfall numbers either. And guess what? It was basically 1 to 3, 2 to 4, maybe some 6-inch amounts when you went up into northeastern New York and way up into northern New England, and that was it. So, and by the way, embedded in all of this is the snowfall for Sunday night and Monday, so it's probably better that I take that out. And in fact, here it is. This is the 24-hour, the positive snow growth. This, I think, is a much more useful map to use, and you'll notice that here the amounts are much more reasonable, okay, and perhaps not impossible, let's put it that way, for Wednesday, for later Wednesday night into Thursday. But overall, I have to tell you, I'm pretty underwhelmed by this whole thing for later next week. The longer term pattern here is one where, as we look at the upper air, and they're still loading these maps, he's been having trouble with this view is loading not as fast as it usually is, but at least out through Sunday the 24th, folks. Raise your hand if you know the answer. Where is the ridge and where is the trough? And the ridge is in the east and the trough is in the west. That is for next Sunday. So we still haven't gotten rid of this pattern. And the big issue is also on the Atlantic side. This is a killer. Look at what's going on in the central Atlantic. You've got this deep trough that is developing over the next 5 days. This deep upper low and trough that forms out along 40 west from Greenland southward. And what does that do? It pops up a ridge off the southeast coast of the United States, and it pops up another ridge off the west coast of Europe, and that deep trough is right in the middle. And as we run through that weekend, going into, from later next week, starting from Tuesday of next week when that big upper air storm appears, and now we're at the Saturday and Sunday and into Monday, you still have this deep trough in the central Atlantic. That has to go away. In the meantime, while that's out there, it's pumping the ridge up on the right side in Europe and pumping the ridge up on the left side off the southeast coast. It's after we get past day 11 and 12 that once again the models, as they have for the last number of days, showing the pattern breaking down as we get into the first days of March. We are still not inside day 13, okay? So I would be careful. I want to see this get inside the 10-day time frame to get any kind of confidence that this is where we're going. So until then, I'm going to play persistence. The one thing that's bothersome to me, if you look at the flow in the Atlantic, yeah, you have a deep upper low that drops south of the Azores and a ridge builds up to the north toward Greenland. Okay, that's fine, but you've got basically a straight line jet that runs from off the southeast coast to the central Atlantic again. It's a west fire hose that runs across much of the Atlantic, and we've been saying how there's been a lack of storms this winter in the Atlantic, and that's a problem because having storms out there kind of creates bottlenecks for systems that are moving across the United States, forcing them to find different ways to move out. And so that's one reason why they're not moving up the East Coast. They're just pretty much moving out straight to the east, like the one on Saturday, the one for tomorrow, that weak system going out. It just shoots away to the northeast. So there's just so many problems in this upper air, and by the time this long range forecast period today, day 16, takes us to, I believe it's March 2nd is the last day of this on this run. Let me bring this. Let me take a look and just make sure. And the 384 is, I'm sorry, it's Sunday, March the 3rd. Okay, so it goes to show you your pattern is not going to be able to change until around the last day or so of February into the first days of March. How much time are you going to have after that? Time is becoming a big issue in this year. Last year, not the case, because we saw clues of the pattern change coming that occurred during the second half of February and brought us into the very active month of March, the blocking pattern and everything else. But right now, not seeing it, and I'm not going to lend confidence to weather models that do it out in the day 13 to 16 time frame, because guess what? We've been burned before with stuff like that. So we'll wait till it gets inside 10 days, and we'll start to pay a bit closer attention. Yes, Seth Dominus, it's a river. It's like a million fire hoses. Exactly correct. That is really kind of what it looks like. Amy Hogan, yeah, you notice how stubborn that Pacific jet is. That has really just been both oceans have been a problem. Usually it's one or the other. You got the Pacific, but you don't have the Atlantic. Sometimes you have the Atlantic, but you don't have the Pacific. And then you kind of look to find ways. If you're looking for snow to occur, you try to look to find ways for something to happen. In this case, we don't have either the Atlantic or the Pacific. Anthony Orr is. If the system on Wednesday is weak, would that favor it being more snow, but obviously with less precip? Exactly. We can't have it both ways. If you have a weaker primary, it'll mean for a colder atmosphere. But if you wind up with a weaker primary, you may also have a lot, less in the way of precip, and that's an issue. I mean, unless the overrunning that develops is a bit more impressive, but I don't think I could really judge that at the moment. One man's opinion. Thank you so much for hitting super chat tonight. That's a cigar for me after work. And this week, has been tough. I've had a lot of different things going on, taking care of websites, apps, and everything else. So I'm kind of looking forward to a little bit of downtime later tonight, and for at least a part of the weekend. I'm going to see where I can squeeze it in. So thank you very much for that one man's opinion for hitting a super chat tonight. Did you leave a question, sir? I would be more than happy to answer it. Johnny Quest, thank you so much for taking care of someone who seems to have no life other than to troll a weather video. I don't get it. I really don't get why some people do this sort of stuff. Timothy, yeah, you know, I'm not having any live stream, any issues tonight with the signal going out. So I think your advice as well. Try reloading the stream, and that usually does take care of it. Snowy, I do laugh from time to time. It's just that tonight I'm kind of hungry. So when I get hungry, I get hangry, as my daughter my daughter puts it. James Hines, not quite the El Nino that it was in 2010 in Vancouver, where they had to ship in snow to cover the ski hills for the Olympics. No, not quite. By the way, we do have, the Weather Service apparently did officially say that we have an El Nino out in the Pacific. I honestly think that it's not the. I think it's a combination of so many things with regards to why the weather pattern is set up this way. And of course, if you're in the West and you're a snow lover, you're just, you know, you're having the time of your life with the weather pattern that's going on. And I remember, by the way, last year during the month of February when we had, you know, if you remember last year, it was basically the tale of two winters and then the big blocking pattern in March. So the cold first half, the December into mid-January was cold in the East. Late January and February were warm, particularly the week going into President's Day. But as I recall, last year was also a very, very snowy late January, February period as the trough went into the western part of the United States. I don't think it was perhaps as obvious and strong as this trough was for this year, because this one has been really behaving rather exceptional with respect to what it has produced snow-wise. Okay, so you know what, folks, I'm going to end it here early. It's a Friday night, and I think we should take a break. But first, Patrick B., let me get to what you're saying. Do I think upstate New York will do next week with the systems? I think you just need to look back to what happened on Tuesday and expect a repeat performance of that. Maybe the snow amounts will get juiced up a bit more this time around if we're dealing with something that perhaps has a little more overrunning to it. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, look at the outcome of what fell on Tuesday and how things progressed on Tuesday, and I think you're going to see them play out much the same way. I'm just going one last check because I don't like to leave people out if they've asked a question, and if I have, you know, done that in the past to you, just message me or put it up on the comment section, and I will get back to you eventually. So many platforms I'm on, and so many things I got to take care of. Believe me, it can be overwhelming sometimes. Okay, time to go. All right, so let's go enjoy our Friday nights. Everybody relax and have a good time tonight, and be safe. We'll keep you updated over the weekend. I'm not sure what my schedule is going to be. Patreon folks, I have not been able to do much in the way of live streams for the members, but tomorrow morning I will do one. I also haven't been able to do any new instructional videos over the last couple of days, but my Patreon folks have left me a list to go through, so I will see what I can do. I'm going to try to get some work done this weekend from that respect, and at the same time get the weather covered. So thanks again for being here. Hopefully I will get that 2,000th app subscriber, but if you haven't already, let me leave you the link to where you can go to either Google Play or you can go to the App Store and download my free weather app. And as I said, you could use it for just about everywhere, although the stuff I write in there about is for my area, which is eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England. But it's gotten good reviews, and it's even trending on one of the tech sites that I looked at last night. So I was kind of excited about that. And for those of you who are interested in an extra weather experience and really expanding it and taking it, well, virtually 24/7. At least it feels that way to me sometimes when I'm running back and forth from different platforms. But here's the link to my Patreon page. Again, it's just $2 a month, and you get all the stuff you're getting now, plus extra weather, extra posts, extra live streams, and you can talk to me anytime, and I'll respond in a timely fashion. So there's the Patreon link, and you can also find it on the descriptor to this live stream or the descriptor to this video if you're watching it on a replay. The Joe and Joe Weather Show tonight, if we both are still in a mood to do it, will be at 9:25-ish Eastern Time, and you can find that on my Facebook page, Meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being part of my YouTube channel. We will see you over the weekend.